Hello. Before proceeding with this best practice process, please go to the community post CRM Best Practices for Insightly worksheet tutorial located in the Insightly Help Center. Links to this post are located below, including part 1 to the blog article 5 CRM Best Practices for Insightly. I recommend you read this first and then go to the version history and backups video, which you're watching here. That's this link. Okay, let's begin. We know Insightly has amazing security standards, being SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, as shown in our blog post here. Fortune 500 companies, there's CTOs, Chief Technology Officers, don't accept anything less than this security standard. So keep in mind that this is a huge step for a small business software offering this level of security. But what we want to talk about today is that they don't back up our version history yet. And we want to retain our version history in case of a cyber attack, user error, like someone accidentally bulk deletes data, or you want to perform a system audit for whatever reason. Then all versions of your data will be physically in your hands. So let's talk about the difference between what they offer here as the recycling bin and what it means to bulk delete data, and the differences between what you're getting with that feature. So if we go to our Insightly instance and we go to contacts, for example, if I were to bulk edit these contacts and say change the value to, let's say I changed all the date of birth to January 4th, 2018, and then save the bulk edit. If I change that data or I deleted it, there would be no way to get the previous data back. If I go to system settings and I delete a custom field by accident, or I change a drop-down value with records that have a drop-down value there, what will happen is I won't be able to get the data back. If I delete a field within a single record, and I delete Jamal's email here, I won't be able to get his data back. But if I go to actions and I select delete this contact, I can simply go into the recycling bin here at the top and retrieve his contact record and restore it to the database. So that's the difference when you're working with the recycling bin and what this version history backup best practice process is going to provide you. So we have two ways to back up version history. We can do it manually and automatically. First, let's talk about the manual backup process. So we have our task in our software support project called version history and backup. We go to activities and then version history and backup task. This task here comes directly from the worksheet located in the community post. So if you download the Excel or Google Sheets, it'll have the exact same information shown here. For our instructions, we'll perform data and report exports of our data every week. So see, as it repeats every week. If we need help performing the exports, we have links to Insightly support articles inside our task and a link to this video that you're watching now. So like mentioned in the blog article, because some objects, related links between objects and fields are not available or may be incomplete in the data export, we can get some of that missing data from, let's say, the event report, as you can see here. The entire event object is not included in the data export. And again, some missing links or fields, such as linked items to contact records or social profile fields like LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, that's not going to be included in the data export. And that's what we're going to use reports for, to get more of our data out of the system. And if you need a updated view of this comparison chart, you can click here and it'll bring you to a live spreadsheet that gets updated frequently. Okay, let's go back to our task here. And we're going to export data from system settings and then reports. So go to system settings. We're going to do our data export. On the bottom left, we click data export, email me an export of all account data. And next we go to reports. And we have a data export folder. We have our reports here with the additional data. And we perform an export for each report. And to build these reports, all I did was go to the data set of, let's say, the event report. And I drag and drop each field into the report builder, save the report to the data export folder, and then I'd run the report by going to actions and export to CSV and close. So there's only one issue with these report exports, especially if you're using it to export your data. These linked items reports have more than 30 fields. So if I go to edit and I see our folders here, the report builder maxes out at 30 columns. So I only can drag 30 of these into the report. What I recommend doing is getting all of the contact fields that you need into the report, including the contact ID, and then get the organization, opportunity, and project IDs into the report. So you have all the metadata or relationship data that's not included in the data export. And then you would do this for projects, organizations, opportunities as well. Okay. And again, only do what you need. So if you don't use files in Insightly or projects, for example, then you wouldn't need these reports, of course. Okay, so let's go back to our task. And here it says in the notes section, if you do not download the data export within a certain amount of time, the link to the download file will expire. So we go to our email client, we click on the links here, download file, and then we save it to a safe location. And our task is complete. Go to the status, completed. All done. So if you don't want to do a manual backup of your version history, there are much better and more efficient ways to back up your data. And what we offer using the manual process, like I just showed you, is the most basic and free way to back up your Insightly data that does not involve using the Insightly API. So let's go back to our blog post. Okay. The Insightly API is an acronym for Application Programming Interface. And what this API does is allow other applications to talk back and forth with Insightly. There is an automated backup service already in Insightly's ecosystem of connected apps called Flatly.io. Flatly can back up your Insightly data automatically every 10 minutes, hour, day, or week, while gathering all available objects, all related links or metadata, and all available system and user settings too. So as you can see, the API gathers everything, has everything available, and Flatly gets all of those objects. As you can see, some are missing. We'll talk about that more later, but it's only in system settings, not with these major objects, the data that you really want to back up. So let's learn about Flatly and then perform a demonstration. So we're here at Flatly. We have 3 plans to choose from: rolling pin, lawn roller, and steamroller. First, let's define their terminology and how it relates to Insightly's CRM and the API. We have jobs at the top. Jobs run automatically and back up a source file every 10 minutes, hour, day, or week to a cloud drive of your choice, like Google Drive or Dropbox. Okay, but what are source files? So Flatly is referring to one or more Git objects in the API. And if you're not familiar with the API term Git object, this is the available data we can get or back up from Insightly via their API. With Insightly's current API, version 2.2, we can back up most system and user settings like shown in the comparison chart. So we can get activity sets, user permissions, for example, but we don't have access to, say, workflow automation processes yet. And then as far as records and relationships concerned, with our main record types, we can back up all of that data, such as contact, event, or opportunity records and their links, and the metadata. So how many source files do we have in Flatly, and do we need to back up all of the source files? We have about 65 source files, and all of these source files make up all Git objects in Insightly. However, you may not use certain features in Insightly like leads or projects or certain system settings, meaning there's not going to be any data in those source files to begin with. So just like with the reports, you may not need to back up all of those data sets or API or objects. Only the features you use that relate to the source files. So next, what does the cells per job mean? Well, we're backing up data to a flat file like Excel or CSV. So as you can tell, the name of the company, Flatly, kind of makes sense now, right? Okay, so we have a maximum of 1 million cells per job, 10 million cells per job, and 100 million cells per job. Let's pull out our calculator and give you an example to help you calculate how much data you have in your database and help you select what plan you need. So for example, we have 1 million contacts with all their fields complete and have many related links to other objects. So let's say we have, on average, 20 default fields plus 20 custom fields plus 10 links per contact. That's going to be about 50 fields, or what we would recognize as column headers in the contact source file, or that one spreadsheet file that it backs up to. And then we have 1 million records, or what we would recognize as rows in the spreadsheet. So 50 columns times 1 million rows, and we have, was it 50 million? Yes, we'd have 50 million cells in this case. So the steamroller plan is a better fit. As you can see, 100 million cells per job. So we understand Flatly's terms and how it relates to our CRM's database. So let's perform a demonstration. We go here to our scheduler. And we go to the job. Select the data source in Insightly. For my destination, I use Google Drive. So I select this option for where I want to back up my files to. And then I authenticate my my demonstration account is hello@sandbox.net. So I authenticate my Google Drive account, allow. And then we copy and paste the API key here. For our purpose of performing a backup of all our Insightly data, we want to get the API key of an Insightly user that has reading permissions to all our Insightly data, such as an admin user's API key. So I go to Insightly, go to my system settings, or user settings of the administrator, or again, a user with read access to all of your data. And we copy the API key into Flatly's field here. Okay, and now Insightly or Flatly will authenticate with Insightly. Very good. Next, we go to our cloud storage service and create a folder named Backup Version History. So I already created a folder in my Google Drive account. So I'll show you Drive. So as you can see, I have my folder here, Backup Version History. I go back to Flatly after I created that folder, click to choose, and select Backup Version History. Select. Okay. So now we select the source file. We'll start with the first one, activity sets. Again, we may not need to run jobs for all of these source files, so select only the ones that apply to what Insightly features we use. Next, we can input the file format to .csv. Our purpose is to simply back up data, but if we wanted the file to serve another purpose, such as reporting or alert triggers with apps like Zapier that will scan and connect to Google Sheets files in a specific Google Drive folder, right? Then we could convert the file to Google Sheets. And that way we'll have more options to connect our data with other online applications. Be aware that Google Sheets and Excel both have file size limits, such as the number of characters per cell, how many cells the file can contain, how many bytes the files can be, etc. So let's get back to backing up our version history. CSV. Okay, next we select the copy method. We want to create another file and retain our version history, so we keep the old file. Okay. For the file name, I have created a spreadsheet here that we can copy and paste the file name into this field here, and it will match the exact same name as shown here. Okay. And you can get a copy of this spreadsheet down below. So for each job that we set up, we want to get an email notification only if the job fails. And then we'll set the delimiter to comma since we're uploading to a CSV file. Okay. And then for the metadata, we'll set it for attached metadata. And if we select the attached metadata, you'll get an extra file sent to the backup version history folder every time a backup is run. And the metadata file attachment will not give you information about the object, links, and relationships that are in Insightly. The metadata attachment gives you information about the status or response message of the GET request. So let's go and visit backup version history. And then here's our metadata attachment. And here's the information that the metadata attachment gives you. It's going to give you information about the status or response message of what just occurred when Flatly pulled data from Insightly. And it's going to give you the date and time the request was made and amount of records or rows of data the source file has. Do not get this confused with metadata from your database, like from the contact records and the relationships. This is metadata from Insightly's API request with Insightly. So let's look at the GET request object response message. So I'll take the status 200, copy it, and then we go to the Insightly API version 2.2 help page, which is located in the blog post, a link to this site. And I'm going to do control find and paste 200. And I can see the response message for getting an object let's say the contact image, for example, and the request, the response message 200 means that the request succeeded. Very good. And if we get one of these, 400, 401, 403, 404, we'll likely get an email that the job has failed, and then you can look up what happened and contact Flatly's support and get help. So this will help with all of your auditing of your backups. So let's go back to the Flatly scheduler and set the frequency. I recommend doing a daily backup if you're backing up all 65 source files, because running a job every 10 minutes, you could reach your daily API request limit, and depending on your plan, you have different limits. So I'm going to select daily, and I'm going to show you what your limits are for your plan. So I think it's request error 429. Yes. Rate limiting and throttling requests. Okay. So source files may contain multiple API GET requests, not just one API request, because some source files are making multiple API GET requests in order to get all the data, links, and metadata you need backed up. For example, we have a contact plus notes source file. This source file will have multiple API requests to get the contact data, contact links, notes, note links, note comments, and note file attachments. So they're going to combine this all into the contact plus note source file. And this could be maybe 5 API requests or more for this specific source file. I don't know the exact number or average API requests per source file. I haven't done the research, and it will constantly change as Insightly's API changes. But if we do a quick ballpark estimate and we take out our calculator again, so let's say conservatively, we have 2 to 4 API, like two API requests per source file on average. So 2 times 65 jobs scheduled to run every 10 minutes, which would be 6 times per hour, times 6. And that's times 24 times a day, 24 hours in a day. Okay. And we get a ballpark number of 20,000 API requests. And as you can see here, that would take up all the basic plans API requests for that day. And it may not just be 2 API requests on average, it may be 4 or 5. So this is just a ballpark estimate. And if you have other connected apps to Insightly making API requests, like Zapier, PySync, Xero, etc., then you add up all of their API requests on top of this, and Insightly could potentially block all your API requests for that day, and you'd get this status code 429. Then you have to wait till the next day for your daily API request limit to expire. So take this into consideration when setting your frequency, because you, your partners, or your customers may rely on your connected apps to get important notifications. So with great power comes great responsibility, as Peter Parker's Uncle Ben would say, right? And so that's why we set it to daily. Okay, but there's other uses for setting it to 10 minutes and hourly. Specific use cases include using an automatic deduplication software like Deduply. So Deduply is going to merge your contact data every hour, for example, and then Flatly is going to back up any data that was lost during the merge, because you're always going to lose data when you merge duplicate records, most likely. So Flatly would save that data for an audit trail. Or maybe you want to connect Flatly to a reporting software, because again, Flatly is getting all your data sets. So this is a really powerful tool for reporting and alert notifications. So if you can get all of your data into a Google Sheet and then have a reporting software like Slimma connected to a report that runs every 10 minutes, then or Microsoft Power BI, whatever reporting tool is out there, then you can get some really robust reports ran every 10 minutes. So it has its use cases, but for backing up, please do it daily or hourly at the most. So I hope that explains what you can do with the software, what resources are available to you, and what limitations you have on your Insightly plan and with your connected apps. So take all of this into consideration when strategizing how you can get the best return on your investment with Flatly and integrated tools. So finally, the best part, select Run Per Schedule. And you're done. You just repeat this for all the other source files you need backed up regularly. And with that being said, you'll still want to keep an eye out for future updates by Insightly and Flatly, or find out if your users are utilizing other parts of the system that you may not be backing up currently. So even if you have the backups automated with Insightly or custom API integration, I still recommend creating a task for yourself like we had in the projects. We go to projects here. All right. So again, keep a task in here, but you'll want to revise it, the version history and backup tasks, to consistently update Flatly, keep an eye out on it, add more jobs for backing up your data on an as needed basis, and again, consistently keeping your system up to date. You do not just set it and forget it. Okay, moving on, one last great piece from our blog. We have a coupon, and you can find this on the blog here. Use this for flatly.io and you get 10% off your first month's subscription. Very good. If you need further assistance, you can contact me using the link provided below. This concludes the version history and backup best practice process. If you saw a lot of value in this content and want to see more like this in the future, then make a donation to my YouTube channel using the link below. Your donations are going to help fund me so I can invest more of my time creating high quality content for you. And subscribe to my channel too. Thank you for watching. Cool.